Okay, good evening, friends. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Abayim. We're continuing our Shiurim on Sefer Bereshis, which are again sponsored by Dr. Zakheim and Mishpachta Le'nishmas of Shlomo Eliezer ben Rabbi Yaakov Zakheim, Le'nishmas Dr. Zakheim's mother Rivka Bas Tovi Halevi, and Rab David ben Rabbi Yaakov Tzvi HaKohen. This week's shir is dedicated by my dear friend Rabbi Tachman, Le'nishmas, his grandfather Avraham Aaron ben Chanina Shmuel, whose yard site is tonight. Neshama Shnab and Aliyah, Shiurim Yosher for his whole family, for Simcha Sanachas, for our service at B'Yas Goel Tzedek. Tonight's shir is also dedicated by Rabbi Avram ben Hayun for Refuah Shlema for Daniel ben Flora, Shav Refuah Shlema B'Sach Shar Chalei Yisrael. We mentioned the new sefer is out, the Zakeni Legadel. You could get it at better Sfarim stores near you, or you could order it online, rabbidg.com. Free delivery. That is also available. So you need to have this. So you want to know what shelf are you going to put it on. So either you're going to have to adjust your shelves, because this is it's short and deep. So, or you might have to get a separate bookcase. Many people have said that it fits on the coffee table. Whatever size your coffee table is, you could. Now you might need a few. You might need to put one on the shelf and one on the coffee table. Now, if you have, we're still, no, I didn't offer that. But if you get the Sefer on Bereshis, and you buy this one, and you buy the one on Chinuch, so then you've bought both. That's the deal. So that's also available, the Sefer on Bereshis. Also coming up is Chanukah. The light and the splendor is also available. Okay, we have a very important topic tonight, a very interesting topic. We're going to talk about the progenitor, the patriarch of the Jewish people, Avraham Avinu. And when Avraham Avinu comes to the scene, it should inspire you with great hope and great aspiration that this is our forefather. Avraham Avinu did not have an easy life. Avraham Avinu was childless for many years. Avraham Avinu's own father tried to kill him. Avraham Avinu is sent, he leaves his homeland, he comes to Eretz Canaan, and as soon as he gets there, there's famine there. But nothing is daunting to Avraham Avinu. Nothing slows him. Nothing tires him. Avraham Avinu is fearless. There's a war of the 4 kings against the 5 kings. The 4 kings win. Avraham Avinu is not despondent. He's not down. He girds himself, and he on his own with one man attacks the 4 kings. Where did Avraham Avinu gain his faith from? Who taught it to him? Did he have Torah? Avraham Avinu was not given the Torah. The Torah was not given until the year 2448. The Medrash says, where did Avraham Avinu get his Emunah from? Umei olav ish toiv, zeh haya Avraham, shehikir me'atzmei la'kadosh baruch hu. He recognized God on his own. V'lo haya adam shalimei roisai. There was no one who taught him. Heich lahakir esamakim. He didn't go to yeshiva. He didn't go to cheder. He didn't go to day school. Nobody taught this to Avraham Avinu. Elohu me'atzmei. He learned it on his own. He got it on his own. What does it mean he got it on his own? Where did he come up with this idea? I mean, in the society, this was not a prevalent belief. Nobody believed in one God. It was an idolatrous society. Where did he get this from? The Rambam writes in Hilchos Avodah Zarah that the God of the world, nobody recognized him, nobody knew him, just a few individuals like Chanoich, Mesushelach, Noach, Shem, Aver, and the world continued to plummet until the pillar of the universe rose up, and that is Avraham Avinu. And when Avraham Avinu was weaned, meaning when he was 3 years old, he began to probe. He was a young boy, and he started to think day and night. And he's looking, the earth, it's rotating. And Avraham Avinu, he remembered playing, dreidel as a kid, or a top, and he knows that a top doesn't spin unless someone's standing on top and spinning it. So Avraham Avinu is wondering, who's spinning this earth? Can't spin on its own, and who's making the earth revolve around the sun? Who's making all of this happen? And Avraham Avinu on his own came to the realization that the entire society that he lived in were a bunch of fools. And he's living in a society immersed in foolish practices, including his own father and mother. And he began to think until he realized the truth that there's one God who controls the whole world and there's no power except for him. And the world is living in erroneous mistake. And the reason why they're living in error is because they have all these icons and all these statues and all these images. So Avram Avinu went around breaking the icons and breaking the statues and breaking the images. And he began to teach that it's only worthwhile to serve the real God. And Avinu convinced them, and he was very persuasive until the king wanted to kill him, and he ran away to Haran. And he began to call out to the whole world. And Avram Avinu went from city to city and from kingdom to kingdom. And he would, Vayikra b'Shem Hashem. And people would ask him questions, and Avram Avinu would teach them. Says the Rambam, Avram Avinu had tens of thousands of followers. Avram Avinu had tens of thousands of Talmidim, and he planted in them this great planting and this great foundation, and this is called Anshe Beis Avraham, and he wrote books. Avram Avinu's Masechta Avodah Zarah had 400 prakim. The Avos Reb Nosson explains, where did Avram Avinu get this from? He's like self-taught. Yeah, indeed, this Avos Reb Nosson says that his 2 kidneys turned into 2 sages, and they would impart wisdom to Abraham. But the basic understanding of where Abraham got his Emunah from is that he looked at the world, he looked at the earth, he looked at the sun, and he asked himself, who made this fireball that is sending down all this energy to the earth? It could not have happened on its own. Who is spinning the earth? Who is causing the earth to revolve around the sun? How is it that when I eat a piece of bread, it nourishes every cell in my body? How did that process happen? Who orchestrated this? Avram Avinu looked at creation, and from creation, he recognized the Creator. This was the derech of Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu didn't have Ktsois HaChoshen, he didn't have the Nesivos HaMishpat, he didn't have the Marsha, he didn't have the Gemara, he didn't have Daf Yomi, he didn't have a Chumash. Avram Avinu had no books. Avram Avinu had no Torah. He saw God in creation. In fact, Avram Avinu observed the whole Torah. How did he observe the whole Torah? Avram Avinu learned from an ant not to steal, and he learned from a cat to be modest. In other words, what we learned last week about Perek Shira, how every single element of creation teaches us a different character trait and a different midah. Avram Avinu studied the sun, he learned consistency from the sun. He studied the ant, he learned not to steal from the ant. He studied every creature, and he learned all good character traits from creation. He didn't need the Torah. From the world, he saw the Torah. He learned certain halachas from blades of grass. He learned certain halachas from flowers. He learned certain halachas from bears. He learned other halachas from kangaroos. He learned other things from digestion. He learned other halachas from perspiration. Avram Avinu studied nature, and he understood even dinei d'Rabbanan. The question is, are we supposed to do that? I understand we have to learn Torah. But do we also have to learn Torah from the world? In other words, am I supposed to, when I walk outside, look at the sun and the moon and learn something from it? Or I could just ignore them?
But isn't that what you said last week?
Or maybe...
That's why the animals were saved. That's why they were...
Maybe now that we have phones, we could just look at the phone the whole day. And we don't have to... we could make believe the sun doesn't exist. Well, who needs a sun when you have a stupid phone? You could get everything there. You could just scroll on stupid videos that people send you the whole day. Maybe that's what we're supposed to do with our lives. Maybe we should spend our whole lives looking at ridiculous emojis that people send after elections. After all, today's the day after election. The main job today is to look at dumb things that people send you. Let's say you could devote a good 9 hours to inane, dancing images of the president-elect. Because why should you... No, someone told me about it. Yeah, because 9 out of 10 guys right here sent it to me. So, does the sun have any meaning anymore? Are you supposed to look at the sun? Are you supposed to look at the moon? Are you supposed to look at the stars? Or they're irrelevant? All we need is Torah. Well, it's interesting. The pasuk in Yeshaya says, "Su'u maroi meinechem uru'u mi bara ela." Lift up your eyes and see who created this. Hamoitzi v'mispar tzva'am. He takes out by count their hosts. L'chulam b'shem yikra. In other words, the Navi is saying, even though the Torah was given, you have to look at the sun and the moon and ask yourself, who created these? Who needs that? I have the Torah. The Torah says everything I need to know. No, the Navi says you have to look at the sky. Interesting. You know, in Tehillim we say, in Parak Ches, David HaMelech, where did he come to recognize Hashem? He says, Hashem Adonenu, Ma'adir Shemcha B'chal Haaretz, how powerful you are. Asher Tana Hoidcha Al Hashemayim, that you give your majesty in the heavens. Ki Ere Shamecha, when I look at your heavens, Masei Etzvaisecha, the work of your finger, Yareach, the moon, V'chaychavim, and the stars, Asher Kananta, I say, Ma Enosh Kisis Kareno, I gain humility. What was David HaMelech looking at the stars? Why didn't he just learn humility from Masechta Saita? There's a whole sugya about humility. No, it's not enough to learn. You also have to learn from nature. Do you? Do you actually have to? Meaning, let's say I'm walking in the street and I could just like look at another dumb thing someone sent me, or I know when I'm in the Beis Medrash I have to learn. But when I'm outside, are there things I have to learn? Or no, the Navi doesn't really mean it. The Navi was not really written seriously. Maybe when the Navi says I should do it, it doesn't mean I should do it. And it's not important to listen to what the Navi says. So we have to understand what exactly is the role of our responsibility to learn from the Bria now that the Torah is given. By the way, the Navi Yirmiyah says, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ha'oisi lo isiro, you don't fear me, No'am Hashem? Imi panai lo isachilu, you don't quake in front of me? So if I was writing this, I would say, you don't fear me? I wrote in the Torah, if you don't listen to the mitzvahs, I'm going to kill you. That's not what the Navi Yirmiyah says. The Navi Yirmiyah says, you don't fear me? Asher samti choil gavul ayam. Don't you see that this mighty ocean, I made a boundary with it with sand. Do you see the chachma of that? V'lo yavrenu, the ocean will never go beyond the sand. Vayisgoashu, it quakes, v'lo yuchalo, can't go. V'hamu galav, the waves are moaning, v'lo yavrenuhu, and it will never pass over. In other words, the Navi Yirmiyah says, how do you not have Yer Shamayim when you see the ocean not be able to go beyond the seashore? I understand what happened to what the Torah says, to be afraid of punishment. Clearly, we see in Yeshaya, we see in Tehillim, we see in Yirmiyah, that there's a certain responsibility that a Jew has to look at nature and to learn Emunah. It says, look at the stars and ask yourself, who made this? Look at the vastness of the universe and feel humility. Look at the wisdom of the seashore and learn fear of God. Was that only before the Torah was given? Does that not apply anymore? So there's a commentary to Parak Shira by Rabbi Chanoich Zundel Loria, who says that we learn from here the importance of learning Parak Shira, not saying it. There's no value in saying it. If you're a cut it out with the zugging of Parak Shira. The value is learning it, understanding what we could gain from the Bria. Because we see throughout the Nevi'im that it's a basic expectation that we have to learn certain values from the Bria. We have to learn certain types of behaviors, the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the greatness of the Creator. Says the Sefer Knaf Rananim, look at number 9. This is the way that Avram Avinu recognized Hashem. You know, we said that Avram Avinu was Mekayim the whole Torah before it was given. Every single halacha in Shulchan Aruch, Avram Avinu was Mekayim. Where did he get it from? Even Eruv Chatzeros. He didn't bring a phone into the Beis HaKnesses. He saw in nature that it's a basic violation of human decency and halacha to go into the house of Hashem with it. Every halacha you could imagine, Avram Avinu recognized it from creation. Not only that, what did the Avos do for a living? What did they do? They sold used cars, life insurance. What did they do? Nursing homes. What did the Avos do for a living? They were Jewish doctors, lawyers. What did they do? The Avos were shepherds. Why were they shepherds? That's like the most boring job I can imagine. Would you want to be a shepherd? So the Knafranam says, of course they were shepherds, because where did they learn their values from? Studying nature. They couldn't be in business. They couldn't be in any other line of work other than being out in nature and pondering the different facets of creation. That's why they were all shepherds. Abraham, Yitzchak, even Moshe Rabbeinu. When did Hashem appear to Moshe? Only when he was shepherding his sheep. The great revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Moshe Rabbeinu, when he was shepherding his sheep. What was he doing when he was shepherding his sheep? He was listening to the sheep say bah. What noise are the sheep? They say bah. So what was he doing? Like riling them up. Let's go. Let's hear a good bah. He was studying nature. Avraham Avinu came up with every single halacha, including para aduma. Did you know that? Chazal don't say Avraham Avinu didn't know para aduma. Avraham Avinu understood para aduma from nature.
How did he know what the Shah was about?
How did he know?
Yeah.
He figured it out.
To sit in the sukkah 7 days to eat
8 days. Shmini Atzeres also he sat in the sukkah, of course. You have to sit in the sukkah in Shmini Atzeres, it says in Simchas Torah. Yeah?
I saw some drawings of Moshe Rabbeinu was wearing his travel.
Whatever halachas there are, Moshe Rabbeinu, Avraham Avinu figured it out. In fact, it says Vashem Berachas Avraham Ba'koil. What does it mean Ba'koil? Ba'koil means with the Torah. It says about the Torah, Arucha Ba'koil Ushemura. So our question is this relevant to our lives today? Or look, we don't need nature. Nature is not relevant to us. We have a Siddur, we have a Chumash, we have Mishnah Berurah, we have Gemara, we have Sifrei Mo, we have our Sfarim. We don't need the sun. The sun doesn't really enhance our learning. Or the ants. We don't need ants. In other words, let's say, you're in the kitchen, you see an ant on the floor. So you call the exterminator. You don't need to sit there watching the ant. I mean, does nature have any value to a Jew in 2025? What would you say to that? Do you spend time in your life studying nature? Or you say, what in the world is he talking about tonight? You do. But now it's too late. What exactly...
He didn't know about Mila. He was told about Mila.
He knew about Mila.
He did?
Yeah.
He did it only after Hashem told him.
The problem with Mila, that's a very...
He waited till Hashem told him. That's exactly it.
That's a big question. We spoke about that.
But it was a commandment. He was waiting for Hashem to tell him.
Okay. So I want to share with you an epic stira in the Rambam. The Rambam in Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah talks about the mitzvah to love Hashem. There's a mitzvah to love Hashem. So the Rambam says, how do you come to love and fear Hashem? Says the Rambam, B'sha sheyizboinen ha'adam b'masav u'bruav haneflaim hagdolim. At a time that a person contemplates God's creations and His wondrous world, v'yira mehen chachmasai, and he sees the wisdom of Hashem. She'ein la erech, it has no estimation, v'loy kates. Miyad hu oyev, he will immediately love Hashem, u'mishabeach, and praise, u'mifayer, u'misave tava gedoyla leida Hashem, and have a great yearning and desire to know Hashem. Do you have taiva? Don't answer that question. Do you have taiva to know Hashem? Do you have a taiva to know Hashem? You know how you could develop a taiva to know Hashem? By contemplating science, the Rambam says. Says the Rambam, As soon as you think about the vastness of the universe, the complexity of the eye, the complexity of the digestive system, miyad hu nirta la'acharav, you will recoil. V'yivchad, you will be in awe. V'yoidea, when you recognize shu beria ketana, you're a small creation. Shefela, afela, lowly, dark, oimedes bedas kala meuta, having limited intellect, lefnei tamim deos, before the wholesome Creator. Like David HaMelech says, when I look at the heavens, the work of your hands, I think to myself, ma enosh kisis karenu. The way to come to love Hashem is to study the science of creation. That's the Rambam. You ever hear that, Rambam?
So
you know about that?
Had no, if he saw something bad happen, a storm or something like that, he was able to interpret that as also being Yad Hashem. And
he had the seichel to know how to filter that and to know, right? In other words, that means when he saw one animal consume another animal, he was able to learn from that. Maybe Eis Milchama, there's a time to go to war, which he did in this week's parsha. But what I'm trying to show from this Rambam is the Rambam says, how do you come to love Hashem? By studying creation. By studying nature. Now what about a guy, he just spent the last 10 years learning in a Beis Medrash. Can he love Hashem? He doesn't know anything about nature. He just knows there's a sun and their eyes. He never studied it. But there's another Rambam. The Rambam in the Sefer HaMitzvahs, in Mitzvah Sasei Gimel, the Rambam says, Mitzvah Gimel, Hi Shetzivanu, Ba'avasa Yisala. We're commanded to love Hashem. V'zeh shenachshoiv v'nizboinen b'mitzvaysav u'ma'amarav. We have to contemplate the mitzvahs of Hashem and His teachings. Ad shenasigeu, until we understand it. V'nene b'hasagasei b'tachas hana, and we get pleasure from it. V'zoisi ha'ava ha'mechuyeves. This is an obligatory ava. Like the Sifri says, v'yohavta es Hashem lekecha. How am I supposed to know how do you love Hashem? Talmud Loimar, what does it say after V'yahavteis Hashem lekecha? V'hayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anoichi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha. These words that I command you today should be on your heart. Shemitoch kach, by learning Torah, atamakir esmi shamar v'haya elam, you recognize the Creator. So how do you come to love Hashem? By learning Baba Kama. By learning Gemara, by learning Torah. The way you come to Hashem is by studying His mitzvahs. Do you see anything about nature here? Not a word about nature. So this is a epic stira. The Rambam in Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah says, how do you come to love Hashem? By studying the complexity, the science of creation. The Rambam in the Sefer HaMitzvah says, how do you come to love Hashem? By learning Torah. Now you might ask, how would you come to believe in Hashem by learning Torah? I'm learning a Gemara about a cow goring another cow. And if he does it the first time, he pays half damages, and if he does it the third time, he pays full damage. And I'm going to come to learn to love God. It doesn't even talk about God. There's no subject matter about God in the whole. I could be learning for 30 hours. God's name does not appear. How do you come to love Hashem? By learning Torah. It seems like there's some kind of mystical, powerful way that by learning the Torah of Hashem and realizing its truth and its yashrus and its divine origin, you just realize there's a Creator. Now, the question is, how do you reconcile these? Now, most people, or many people, they will indeed concede that there were times that they learned something in a Gemara or in a Chumash, and it just imbued them with Emunah. It's not that it's because it said God created the world in 6 days and He rested on the seventh day. It's just something about the Torah that gives you the conviction that there's a Creator. So the question is, which one? What really leads a person to believe in Hashem or to love Hashem? Is it nature or is it Torah? What would you think?
Both.
Or is it both? Or is it both? I mean, look around the world. You don't really have... what yeshiva do you go to? I'm in BMG. Again, what yeshiva do you go to? I'm in BMS. What's BMS? Base Medrash of Science. Yeah, what do you do there? But first we wake up, we watch sunrise. Then we study the Earth rotation. Then we study it's revolving around the... pal, you expect to get a shidduch? What? Not. It might be a nice thing, but who exactly do you expect? Yeah, she said, there's a special kind of seminary that they also teach these things. But really, is that a mahalach? Is that an approach to Judaism today? What role does studying creation have in Judaism post-Sinai?
Rambam talks about all that.
No. All we have are these two Rambams.
At the beginning, the introduction of the Rambam.
Mar Nevucha, maybe.
And it talks about everything there.
Yeah, the Rambam talks about it, but maybe that's, for before the Torah is given. But once the Torah is given, it's not really relevant. So actually, I'm going to share with you tonight 4 approaches, and they're pretty interesting, and they might be very shocking to you. Approach number 1 is the Knaf Rananim, a Perush on Perak Shira. He says like this, Chazal say, had the Torah not been given, you would have learned not to steal from an ant. You would have learned to be modest from a cat. So he says, look carefully at the Gemara. Had the Torah not been given, then you would learn all these things. But guess what? Good morning, America. The Torah was given. So therefore, you no longer need to learn not to steal from an ant. So the ant is basically... we don't need him anymore. You could put him in the Museum of Natural History, where they have exhibits about things that happened a long time ago and exhibits about things that never happened. The cat we would learn modesty from. That's if the Torah wasn't given. But now the Torah is given, we don't need cats. What do you need a cat for? You don't need, your Rebbe doesn't have to be Rabbi Cat. Maybe Rabbi Katz could be your Rebbe, but Rabbi Cat does not have to be your Rebbe. As Chazal say about the Torah, Sivu balaba umina loisazua ki ein lecha mida toiva imena. Delve into the Torah, deepen your understanding. Everything's in it. Didabe kulabe ein lecha mida toiva imena. No further investigation is needed. Avram Avinu needed to learn from the cat and from the sun because he didn't have the Torah. Nowadays we have the Torah, so we don't need to learn from nature. However, says the Knaf Rananim, but that's only if you're Tairasai Umnasai. You know what Tairasai Umnasai is? Tairasai Umnasai is if you spend your entire life learning. You wake up in the morning, you go to daven, you learn, and when you finish learning, you go to sleep. You don't have a job. You don't go to school. You don't go out in the world. You don't have leisure time. You spend your life learning. If your world is the world of Torah, nothing more is needed. But if you have a job and you go out into the world, or you're the kind of guy, you need to walk around in the street a little bit, go shopping a little bit, go on vacation a little bit. So then, we need to give you an avenue to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu outside of your realm of Torah. So for you, you need Parak Shira. You need to study nature because you're not living only in the 4 cubits of Torah. And he says, and even a guy who's Tairasai Umnasai, maybe while you're learning the Gemara, an ant will walk across the Gemara. And you'll be distracted for a minute. And now, in that minute that you'll be distracted, maybe all of a sudden that will rip you away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you'll be torn away and you'll be led to sin. But now that you know how to learn about Hashem, even from nature, even if you have like a brief distraction, you'll even be able to use that to come close to Hashem. But his principal idea is that actually the main way and the primary way and the best way to recognize Hashem is through the Torah. Recognize Hashem through creation was basically archaic. It was for before the Torah was given, or it's for people who cannot so to speak, hack. People who are not cut out just to sit and learn. For them, okay, we'll let them try to see Hashem in nature. That is the approach of the Knaf Rananim, and I'll tell you the truth, it didn't really sit that well with me. So what the sun really, people who learn and want to make Torah their career, they don't need the sun. The sun doesn't offer them any insight, or they don't need nature. It's, so to speak, like a secondary avenue of recognizing Hashem. But the elite approach is only Torah. For those who are not capable of gaining Emunah only from Torah, we'll let you use, plan B, which is creation. And is that really what the Rambam means? When the Rambam writes in Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah, the way to come close to Hashem is by studying nature. The Rambam was talking about, low-level people who can't really come to love Hashem through Torah, so they have no choice but to recognize Hashem through nature. But for the real special people, that the Rambam writes in the Sefer HaMitzvos, that they need to recognize and come to love Hashem only through Torah. So I want to share with you 3 other approaches. And Knaf Rananim was a commentary on Perek Shira, Reb Chanoich Zundel Loria. I want to share with you 3 other approaches, and I think they're going to come as a very big surprise to you. Yeah, Rabbi Isai. Approach number 1. This stira on the Rambam was actually asked by none other than the earliest Mefarshim on Rashi, the Mizrahi, the Maskil David, Rabbi Elio Mizrahi, the Re'im, asked the stira on the Rambam, where the Rambam writes in Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah that the way you come to love Hashem is by studying nature, and the Rambam writes in Sefer HaMitzvos, the Rambam quotes the Sifri, that the way you come to love Hashem is through Talmud Torah. By the way, Rashi in Parshas Va'eschanan, do you remember the Rashi? Look at number 13. The pasuk says, "V'ahavta Hashem Lecha b'chol levavcha." You should love Hashem with all your heart. And then it says, "V'hayu advar ma'ila shanochi mitzavcha hayom alav avecha." Rashi says, "Umahu ha'ava." How do you come to love? "V'hayu advar ma'ila." From the Torah, "Shemitoch kach atamakir b'hakadosh baruch hu." So it's a stira. How do you come to love God? Studying nature or studying the Torah? You ready for this? Comes the Mizrahi and the Maskil David, and they say, you can only come to love Hashem by studying nature. If you don't have the ability to think about how is it possible, look, you see this camera? It's a HD camera. When it's finished with the 45-minute shir, the size of the shir is going to be about 2.5 gigabytes. Okay? After, let's say I give, 7, 8, 9 weeks of shiurim, the SD card is full. It's done. It's one of my big nightmares. All of a sudden I hear a middle of shir, ta-ta, 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 means it's full. That means I could be talking, and however many people are here, let's say there are 700 people here. I'm just saying that, like the people watching, they have no idea how many people are. I could be talking to the wall. Let's make believe there's 700 people here. No, there aren't. Nowhere near, okay? I'm just, and that means no one else will ever hear it. So I have to actually erase old files. Now when you listen to my shir, the quality of your visual is much greater than 2.5 gigabytes. It's going to be like probably 200 gigabytes. So really, after one shir, you should say, God, it's time to go. I have no memory left. You know that? After listening to one shir in this high definition quality, sound and visual, there should be no memory left in your head. After a person goes through one day on planet Earth, it is impossible to fathom how your mind has incorporated all that information. It's not possible. They don't have a computer that could take in even 1 day's worth of the quality of visual and audio that you bring in 1 day. It's impossible. So there's only one way to recognize Hashem and to love Hashem, to study the complexity of creation, not by learning Torah. Said the Mizrahi, so where does Torah come in? By doing mitzvahs and learning Torah, that will alert your mind, I'm doing a mitzvah, there must be a commander. I'm learning the Torah, there must be a creator. Oh, there's a commander, there's a creator. Let me study his universe. And when I study his universe, I'll come to love Hashem. But if you never study the universe, you will never come to love Hashem. You could learn Torah, Shas, 101 times. You won't come to love Hashem. You'll just be alerted that there's a world out there that you need to study, and when you do so, that will bring you to love Hashem. Even Rav Moshe Feinstein would daily contemplate one of the wonders of creation in order to have love of Hashem to say Moedim. Hey, Rav Moshe, you would think he learned enough to love Hashem. That's a man who learned enough Torah to love Hashem. Yeah, he learned enough Torah. So it actually alerted him to study creation to bring him to love Hashem. That's a Mizrahi. That's a Pella. It's unbelievable. This is the most authoritative answer to this theory on the Rambam is really a very sort of somewhat surprising and shocking idea. That, of course, Torah is the greatest mitzvah, but in terms of what it will do in cultivating a love for Hashem, it will alert you that there's a creator. Yes, by learning Torah, you'll be alerted. You'll get a notification in your soul. What? Oh, Taka, there's a creator. Let me think today about the miracle of vision. Did you ever notice my glasses? How many times a day do you have to clean your glasses? Am I the only guy in the world? I have to carry one of these shmatas around. There's a guy in the back, Anton. Every time he sees me, he gives me like 10 shmatas, right? He's a tzaddik. He gives me 10 shmatas. I could clean this well, right? In an hour. It's filthy. I don't know. What am I doing already? Could somebody tell me? How come you don't have to do this to your eyes? Did you ever have to take out a shmata and clean your eyes? Saying my glasses multiple times a day, and then after a thing I have to throw out the shmata. Why are your eyes always clear? You don't have fingerprints on your eye. You don't have, on my glasses I have these little white dust things. I don't know, how come I don't have that on my eyes? Because you have automatic lubrication. So how come I'm not always changing the batteries? This Sennheiser, this is the best sound system you could imagine. Everybody who listens to the Shiurim know, I'm changing these batteries 70 times a day. So why don't I have to put things into my head every 3 minutes so that my eyes continue to operate? No, you have batteries because you're eating bread. Oh, really? So can I put bread into this? How? No, don't worry. Eating the bread will power you. Are you kidding me? How come we don't think about these things? If you learn Torah, it will alert you to think about nature. And if you think about nature, you'll come to love Hashem. But not the other way around. That's a chiddush. I don't know that most people would have said that. Now, there's a commentary on the Rambam from the author of the Machzas HaShekel, Rav Binyamin Ze'ev Wolf Baskowitz, the son of the Machzas HaShekel. He says something also very surprising. He says, in his opinion, this is what the Mizrahi means. And that is, I don't think most people would have said this, but he says studying nature is a much stronger way to bring you to love Hashem than learning Torah. I'm not saying my words, I'm saying what he says. Why? He says something very interesting. I'm going to give you a mashal. Let's say a Gadol Hadar came into the shul and said over a shir. And then a speaker came and he said over Divrei Torah from the Chumash about how you could get along better with your wife and your children. And the Gadol Hadar gave a complex shir about the laws of Egla Arufa. Which one will make a bigger impact on you? Now, there's no question, the Gadol Hadar is much, much greater than that speaker that came in. So So you say, well, I don't know. It's hard to know. How do I know what makes a bigger impact on me? Maybe the real meat and potatoes of the Torah impacted me more. Okay, fine. Which do I feel made a bigger impact on me? The Divrei Torah that hit me in an emotional way or in a way that I understand. He says the same thing with Torah versus nature. Torah is Emunah. Emunah is, so to speak, belief. But it's not something I fully understand, and it doesn't necessarily resonate with me emotionally. But if I study nature, it will be understandable to me, and it will resonate with me emotionally, and therefore studying nature will bring me to love Hashem even more than learning Torah. However, only if I learn Torah properly will that give me the proper frame of mind and prepare me to be able to want to love Hashem by studying nature. So the Mizrahi and the Sefer Seder Mishnah, the son of the Machzas HaShekel, both learn that the answer to the Stira and the Rambam is, what do I need to do to love Hashem? Do I do what the Rambam says in Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah, namely study nature, or do I do what the Rambam says in the Sefer HaMitzvah, study Torah? The answer is, first learn the Sefer HaMitzvahs, study Torah, and if I first study Torah, then I'll realize, you know what, there's a creator, let me learn about him, and I'll climb to the higher level of studying nature, and I'll follow what the Rambam says in Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah, and I'll study nature, and I'll come to love Hashem. I don't think most of you would have said that. That's how the Mizrahi learns. But I want to share with you another approach. And this is something I saw, based on something I saw many years ago in Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi and the Karakemach. So basically what we have so far is, the Knaf Ranonim says, nature, that's so pre-Avram Avinu, you know? That's like before the Torah is given. Now the Torah is given, you don't need to study nature. Just, you learn K'tzais HaChosheh and Nesivos, Rabbi Baruch Ber, Rabbi Chanan, Shimon Shkap. Leave nature is for like prehistoric people. But the Mizrahi says, no. Learning Torah is what's going to alert you that you need to study nature, and that will bring you to love Hashem. But here's another approach. You know, in the pasuk, "V'ahavta Hashem Lecha," you should love Hashem your God. What are the next words? How do you come to love Hashem? That the Torah should be on your heart. But wait a second. Is there any remez? What about the other way to love Hashem? Studying nature. What do we call studying nature? The Navi Yeshaya says, Su'u maraim einechem. Lift up your eyes on high. Comes the Avudraham, the word Shema Yisrael. Shema stands for Su'u maraim einechem. And you know what else it stands for? Shakai Melech Olam. You know what else it stands for? Shachris, Mincha, Arvis. You know what you'll accomplish by doing that? You'll be Makabel, Oil, Malchus, Shemayim. Shema is a quadruple acronym. Su'u maroim einechem, lift up your eyes on high. To who? Shakai Melech Olam. When? Shachris, Mincha, Arvis. What will you accomplish? Oil, Malchus, Shemayim. So really, both avenues of coming to love Hashem are in these psukim. First you have Su'u Maroim Einechem, then you have love Hashem, then you have learn Torah. Now, according to the Mizrahi, it's really out of order. Because the Mizrahi says, learn Torah, you'll be alerted there's a creator. You're going to learn to study about him, and that will bring you to love Hashem. But that's not the order it is in Shema. The order in Shema is first Su'u Maroim Einechem, then you love Hashem, and then the Torah. Rabbeinu B'chaye in the Kara Kemach says we have a parak in Tehillim, and this parak in Tehillim that teaches us there are two ways to come to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now I do want to say another approach could be It's the same exact approach. Because how did Hashem create the world? He created the world with the Torah. The Torah is the blueprint of creation. So creation is really the result of the Torah, and the Torah is the artisan's tool which created it. So it might not be two separate things. You're studying the result of the Torah to learn the values of the Torah, or you're studying the Torah to learn the values of the Torah. But the Kana Kemach says there are two ways to come to recognize Hashem in this world. Two great lights. The light of creation, the light of the sun and the moon, and the light of the Torah. And the truth is, if you study creation, it's a very powerful tool to bring you to recognize Hashem as it brought Avram Avinu to recognize Hashem. What does the sun say? You know, the sun talks. Hashamayim misaprim kivoid kel umase yadav Maggid Harakiah. The sun talks. Yoim liyoim yabia oimer. It speaks daily. However, as much as the sun testifies to the greatness of the Creator, says Rabbeinu Bachai in the Kana Kemach, Haloi haTorah hi me'ida al zeh yoser v'yoser. The Torah is a much more compelling testimony, different than the Mizrahi. The testimony of the Torah is much more compelling than the testimony of nature. In other words, you could have two guys. One of them will study Torah, one of them will study nature, and not like we said in the Mizrahi, the one who studies the Torah will have a deeper conviction in the belief of Hashem than the one who studied nature. And then David HaMelech goes on to say 6 advantages that studying Torah has over studying nature. Number 1, you know, if you stay out in the sun too much, you know what it's going to do? You're going to faint. I remember one time, I was walking, I don't want to say where, I had to walk very, very long, and I came to daven, I fainted. I was dehydrated. So, but if you learn Torah, Torah's Hashem Tamima, not like the sun that it could cause you to faint. It's Meshivas Nafesh. It restores the soul. You know what else? Those who stay out in the sun too long, they lose their mind. They become crazy. But Eidus Hashem Ne'emana Machkimas Pesi. Not only do you not lose your mind, it makes you smart. Sometimes people spend too much time in the sun. It gives them anxiety. People think, yeah, I'm relaxing in the sun. No, you're not relaxing in the sun. You're magnifying whatever nervous wreck you are already. You're promoting before you were a little anxious, now you come back from your vacation a complete nervous wreck. Why? You spend too much time relaxing in the sun. Proven fact. The sun, too much sun, will promote, the guy comes back, he looks like an orange. He thinks he's going to feel good. He thinks because he used to look like an egg, now he looks like an orange. He thinks he's healthy. Now he's out of his mind now. The sun promotes anxiety. Not so the Torah. Pikudei Hashem Yisharim Mesamchei Lev. Then people spend a lot of time in the sun. It dims their eyesight. No, but not the Torah. What do we say about the Torah? Yiras Hashem Torah, Me'ira Seinoyim, it illuminates the eyes. The sun, sometimes it's cloudy, it's a hazy day, it's not pure. Or sometimes people worship it as an Avodah Zarah, so it's not pure. The sun, Yiras Hashem Tahira, it's pure. Torah is pure, Omed Sa'ad. The sun is not consistent. In the day nowadays, I don't know how they pulled this one off. I wake up in the morning, I try to daven and learn. I'm preparing my shir, grab something to eat. It's already shkia. Look, it's the middle of the afternoon and the day is over. Well, what happened to the good old summer days? No. Nowadays, there's like 4 hours of sunlight. I don't know, they're trying to save money. The green bill. I thought she only got 0.04% of the... She didn't win anything. She didn't get even one electoral vote. No, but still they have to save electricity. But Torah is constant. So we learn from here, there are two great ways to recognize Hashem, but Rabbeinu Bechai says, recognizing, believing, and coming to love Hashem through Torah is superior. That's why, in davening, first we say, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, Yoitzer Oru Barei Choshech, we thank Hashem for the light of the sun. But then we say there's an even greater light and way to recognize Hashem, and that is by learning Torah, V'ha'er Einenu B'Sairasecha. So this is different than the Mizrahi. It's that the first step, so to speak, the most elementary way to come to recognize and believe and love Hashem is by studying nature. But then by learning Torah, it brings it to a whole different level. Learning Torah elevates and magnifies your love of Hashem to a completely different level. In fact, Rabbi Cheskel Abramsky would say, Mikoilois mayim rabim, more than the mighty waters, adirim mishbareyam, the powerful waves of the sea, adir b'maroim Hashem, you are so powerful on high, meaning David Melech would look at the ocean, and we say, Hashem, you know, I don't know how powerful you are, but when I see the waves crashing down on the rocks, as powerful as the water is, you're more powerful. But you know what teaches me even more than that, how powerful you are? Your mitzvahs are even more faithful. When I study your mitzvahs, I recognize your greatness even more than when I study the waves of the ocean. So this is a new idea. This is a very powerful idea. And that is, yes, there are two ways to recognize Hashem in this world. There's Su'u Marei Meinechem. And you need that. You can't ignore that. You can't ignore gaining awareness of Hashem by studying creation. But now that the Torah was given, the Torah is a superior way of recognizing Hashem. So basically we have two approaches, where Rabbeinu Bechai says the Torah is a superior way of recognizing Hashem, and the Mizrahi says that creation is a superior way. And it could be, in a certain element, the Torah is a superior way because Hashem gave us this mystical entity called Torah, that for our souls, ultimately, it will give us the most faithful and enduring method of coming to believe and love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But there are going to be sometimes elements of creation that will hit you in a certain way that maybe we're not on the madrega that Torah can hit us on. Because maybe we have a certain human seichel or human emotion. So we will sometimes need creation to influence us to see Hashem and to recognize Him according to the intellect we have and according to the emotion we have. So really we do need both of these methods of recognizing Hashem. Of course we need Torah, and Torah perhaps is the superior method, but nevertheless the Nevi'im are replete with many references that in order for us to really believe in Hashem and to love Hashem, we cannot ignore the wonders of the world. This is what brought Avram Avinu to his conviction, and even now that the Torah was given, it will definitely enhance and bolster the Emunah and the love we have Hashem by learning Torah. Okay, Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful rest of the week. Bracha v'atzlacha, and look forward to next time. Next week, the shir will not be, there's no shir next week. No shir next week, okay? Wednesday night, no shir next week. Kol tov, everyone. Be matzliach.
South Africa?
Recording stopped.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't have? No. Yeah, it's downstairs right now.